Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about all things rhubarb. We could be talking about what you can be doing with it now. We're going to also be talking about how you can force your rhubarb on so you can get an early crop. Now, if you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, because you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now, here's my rhubarb here. I've got quite a hefty amount of rhubarb, and because I really like it, I'll make lots of jams and chutneys. I enjoy having it on my porridge, that sort of thing. As you can see, it's covered with manure, and I do that every year because it makes such a difference to the production of my rhubarb. It also keeps it a little bit warmer and more fertilised, so again it helps it come on a little bit sooner and it gives me much better growth. Now, if you've not already planted rhubarb, now's a good time to be planting it. Get a crown from your local garden centre, or maybe a friend could cut you some off. Now, if you've got a friend who's got some, or you're someone who's got a lot of rhubarb like me, I often give away a little bit of rhubarb every year because it's a really simple thing to grow and it doesn't take a lot of work. So even the most inexperienced person can normally grow a little bit of rhubarb. So if I was going to take a bit off this, I wouldn't take it from the middle, I would take it from the end. So I've got, say, a piece here. I could cut that odd, and I'd go down with my spade really quite deeply. You will break the roots off, but don't worry about it. But you would go quite down deep with a spade, or there's a nice bit sticking off the end over there. So it would be those kinds of areas that I would be looking to take a piece off of if I was going to give it away. So in Kent, because it's it's the middle of February, traditionally we get rhubarb quite early here, so I don't have to force my rhubarb. But I will, I can still force a little bit if I want to, because you get much more tender and sweeter stems when you do force your rhubarb. Now, it's quite an exciting thing to have because there isn't really an awful lot of new stuff coming on this time of year. So for a lot of people, and including myself, rhubarb is one of the first early crops that you get because it comes on so early. So for that reason, it is a good to grow it. You can use it in sweet things. You can also use it with savoury, with things like mackerel. So really, and you can pickle it as well. So it's really, really versatile. So gone are the days where people just stew it. And although I stew it and I do really love it, for some people it's put them off rhubarb. So do get a little bit adventurous with the things that you do with your rhubarb. Now, moving on to forcing and how you do it. Now, the perfect vessel is something made of terracotta, and this is pretty much perfect. It's got a great big hole in the bottom, so it's a bit like a massive dome, and all you do is you lift it over, being careful not to knock any of the tops that are shooting, over a piece of rhubarb that you want to force. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a couple of bricks on the top to block out the light. So the reason you do this, and it works, is because it tricks the rhubarb into thinking it's being buried. So it naturally sends roots up from the soil. So it's doing what nature intended. The other reason it works is because it's terracotta. So like today, the sun is shining, this is going to warm up beautifully. And then if we get a frost in the next few days, which I think we are scheduled to, that terracotta keeps your rhubarb nice and warm. So if that wasn't on there, and it like these bits are flourishing beautifully, but if these get hit by the frost at the weekend, which they probably will do, it will either slow them down growing, or it might actually partially kill the tops off. Now, obviously, while that wouldn't be permanent and it would grow back, it means you're not going to get any early rhubarb. The other benefit of forced rhubarb is it's very, very tasty. It's much pinker and much sweeter, and actually really quite delicious. So if you've never forced a rhubarb before, it might be worth giving it a go, because it's a completely different flavour to the normal rhubarb. It's much more tender and delicious, and used in a lot of high restaurants. So I really hope that you've enjoyed watching this, and it's going to inspire you to force your rhubarb or to grow some rhubarb. If you like what you see, do obviously click the like button, and as usual, please do put some comments in if you've got any questions or queries.